So many people did have questions about Rafael Leao and whether he's going to be joining FC Barcelona, but according to some sources, they have claimed that it is 110% impossible that Rafael Leao signs for FC Barcelona this season. There were discussions held within the club, but Barcelona are not planning to move forward in this path at the moment. And so here's the thing, right? The reason, and probably the main reason why Leao will not go to Barcelona is because of his release clause and how much AC Milan are going to be asking for. Yes, at one point within the past 4 to 5 months, he was worth around 175 million euros. AC Milan have taken off like 75 million euros off of that release clause, and now he's worth 100 million euros. But even at 100 million euros, that is just too much for a team like FC Barcelona. Barcelona cannot afford that due to the debt, the financial fair play rules, and the ongoing stadium project cost, and nothing more. There's other clubs like Liverpool, Arsenal, and especially Bayern Munich who are much closer to sign Rafael Leao. Leao does want to leave, and I believe that as of now, Leao has to take care of all the negotiations because he is no longer with Jorge Mendes. Jorge Mendes is somebody who used to represent Rafael Leao as his agent, and Jorge Mendes is also an agent that was very close to Joan Laporta. Hence the reason why over the past 4 to 5 months we have been hearing some stories about Leao maybe going to Barcelona and Jorge Mendes working out a deal to make sure that the whole operation is feasible for the club. But with Jorge Mendes now out of the picture, the fact that Leao has separated himself from this agent, it is just is almost impossible. And I believe that Leao, in the way that I am seeing him move, he's looking for the biggest and best deal possible. Hence the reason why a team like Bayern Munich are very much interested. And this is also a reaction from Bayern with the fact that they have lost on the signing of Florian Wirtz. Florian Wirtz is not interested in joining Bayern Munich. Florian Wirtz wants to go to Manchester City or Liverpool, but mainly Liverpool, which is like 99% done. So yes, Bayern Munich are trying to react. They're like, oh my god, we have to reinforce the attack. We thought it was going to be Florian Wirtz because we always succeed in Bayer Leverkusen players, but because he's not interested and he wants to go to the Premier League, now they're looking at Leao. So that is why Barcelona are 100% not going to go for the player. They're going to be losing in all sectors. And you know, Leao has always been a long time he has always been admired by Barcelona and has been linked with the club over the past few years. Even people like Hansi Flick, Ronald Araújo always admired Rafael Leao and how he does play. But if the money is the issue, then it's the issue. And Deco and Laporta are not going to be moving in such a ridiculous way where they're going to be acting like if they're under the presidency of Bartomeu. Like, it's just not going to happen. And regardless, right, I think that Leao so far in the 2024-2025 season, he's been okay. He's been solid. I just don't think that for somebody who has scored 8 goals and provided 8 assists in 34 matches as a left winger in the Serie A, it's worth 100 million euros. That is just, you are just ripping off a bunch of clubs, AC Milan and the people who work there. I have no idea why you would just say, yeah, 100 million euros for Leao. In the Champions League, he scored 3 goals. So in total, in terms of like goal contributions, it's 19 goals. Compared to the past seasons, his form has dipped in this season. And a lot of the fans, the media, they have criticized him for his inconsistencies. And yeah, he has had some moments of magic in the Champions League, but overall, I believe that he does lack a lot of goals. He lacks, I would just say, the attitude and the correct attitude on, like, you are 26, 27 years old, you're supposed to be acting much better. But sometimes he does act in a way where he wants to play all for himself, which is not good. And even though, yes, he is a huge talent, and I believe that he is a phenomenal player, I just don't think that he's reliable enough, and he has shown consistency. And consistency is very important. Hard work is very important. If you combine the talent of Leao with hard work and consistency, then yeah, maybe we might just consider 100 million euros for Leao, but it's just not it, bro. It's just, we're not going to go for it. And so it's not going to happen. If you guys want to know exactly who are the main 3 players that Barcelona are looking at, it is going to be Luis Diaz, Marcus Rashford, and Lookman. Leao is out of the picture, is not going to happen. So now let's move on towards the next conversation. And I do want to speak about the reason why Hansi Flick wants Grimaldo, because there has been so many questions, so many theories and speculations on why Hansi Flick would want him, because we have just talked about how Hofre Torrens is going to be the next great left back and how Hansi Flick is going to be calling him to go to the preseason. We also talked about Alejandro Balde, we talked about Gerard Martin, like why go for Grimaldo? And it states here that Hansi Flick in conversations with Joan Laporta mentioned that the absence of Balde was one of the key reasons, if not the key reason, on the elimination against Inter Milan. He wants competition on the left back position, right? And the club is now best placed to sign Grimaldo, and that is the reason why Grimaldo is being eyed on, is because Hansi Flick never wants to put himself in a predicament again where he has to face a team with a 5-man midfield and, you know, he's missing his main left back. You need to have another alternative to Alejandro Balde, somebody who can play very similar to him. Gerard Martin gives you something very different, right? He's more defensive than offensive, but you need a left back where if Balde is injured, you need somebody who can have that balance of a offensive threat and have great defensive tracking, right? And I think that Grimaldo does align with that. And you know, the reason why even Alejandro Balde missed that match against Inter Milan, he suffered a left hamstring injury back on April 2025, and he missed both legs, okay? The first leg and the second leg ultimately led towards Inter Milan scoring 7 goals against us. We scored 6, by the way. A lot of people would like to say that, oh, you know, Barcelona played bad against Inter Milan. Okay, fine. I don't care if we conceded 7. We scored 6. We lost by 1 goal, so like, what's the issue? So, you know, Flick did not want to risk him, even though he did return in time for the second leg. All in all, he missed like 85% of the total of like the 180 minutes that we played against Inter Milan, and we needed Balde 100% available, but he just wasn't there. And you know, Gerard Martin, once again, going back to him, he's decent, he's good, but he cannot match Balde in terms of speed with offensive threat and defensive tracking. Once again, Grimaldo gives you that answer. And also keep in mind, right, like as we settle ourselves up for the next season, we want to be able to combat against 3-5-2 formations. I believe that Hansi Flick has learned a lot from whatever happened in the first season. Inter Milan played a 3-5-2 formation with dangerous wingbacks like Dumfries. Without Alejandro Balde, Barca had no way to stretch the field or defend properly on the left. Inter Milan targeted Barcelona's weak left-handed side, and Dumfries, you know, took advantage of that, got the goal, got the assist. And he was very dangerous going up against FC Barcelona. We needed Alejandro Balde. Somebody like Gerard Martin, yes, sometimes he had those like key moments there, like for example, those 2 assists that he has made against Inter. But all in all, you need to be consistent through the full 180 minutes and go toe-to-toe with somebody like Dumfries. So you just never know when we're going to be able to, when we're going to go up against a 3-5-2 formation again. I mean, like, bro, our direct rivals, Real Madrid, I know later down in the future, we will be facing up a 3-5-2 formation. We will. Xabi Alonso is like king in terms of this formation. He's probably going to want to incorporate this formation with Real Madrid later down the road. He's not going to like go all in on the 3-5-2 formation just like that on the first day and in the Club World Cup. We're going to see a 4-3-3 formation in the beginning, but as time does go by, he will slowly integrate and make these players understand how to play in a 3-5-2 formation, and Barcelona have to be prepared. We must be ready, and that is why Grimaldo once again is being eyed on, because he can match Balde in many things. And I think that, you know, when you look at Balde and Grimaldo and you compare these 2 players, they both have their own strengths. Like for example, I think that like Balde and Grimaldo are very good in carrying the ball. They're even. I would say that they're very much go toe-to-toe with each other on that. In terms of like aerial percentage, dual percentage, Balde is better, obviously, right? When you play under a team like Hansi Flick and when you're so young and you're so destined to always have the ball, your aerial percentage and dual percentage is going to be much better than somebody like Grimaldo and at a team like Bayer Leverkusen. But Grimaldo is better when it comes to cross percentage, expected assist, and progressive passes. And so I think that when you look at what Grimaldo has over Alejandro Balde, like the crosses, the assists, the progressive passes, you can just tell that Hansi Flick wants to be prepared that when Balde is out, he wants to say, okay, Grimaldo, you come in because I'm going to need you to extend this attacking threat and score even more goals, provide even more assists, because they have scored 2 goals against us and we need to score 4. So Hansi Flick wants to have those answers, and we'll see how those things do turn out. Like I've said, Barcelona's ultimate plan right now is to go for Joan Garcia first, complete that, pay the 25 million euros, go for Luis Diaz, complete that, pay the 35 to 45 to 55 million euros for Luis Diaz, and then go for the left back, which is going to be Grimaldo. All of this, to be honest, is really makes me you know, think about the summer of 2022. I have those flashbacks of that summer of 2022 because the last time we really made a great impact in terms of like big signings and like covering key holes was back in that summer when we got Rafinha, Christensen, Lewandowski, and some other players, right? Yeah, we got those players. Jules Koundé, we strengthened our squad and we won 2 titles on that exact same season. And I'm getting the exact same flashbacks this summer because of how many players we are going for. So I'm very, very excited to see how Barcelona do move through this summer. Now, lastly, I want to speak about Ronald Araujo because many have been questioning, Kevin, is Araujo going to be leaving or not? Like, what happened with this whole conversation of him going to Bayern Munich? So first things first, Ronald Araujo to Bayern Munich rumors. If you guys are looking at any of those stories as of now, and you guys are seeing like updates, right? Araujo close to joining Bayern Munich, it's all fake. It's all gone. There is zero contacts between the agents of Araujo and Bayern Munich. It is 100% confirmed that Araujo will be continuing at FC Barcelona and he will not sign for Bayern Munich. The reason why he considered leaving back in January 2025 is because of the financial fears about Barcelona's future. He felt underpaid versus other stars and other center backs in Europe. He wanted more of a leadership responsibility, and he could not show that because he never even got minutes in the first place. And he faced new competition when he came back from that big injury, and it ultimately was going up against Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez. It's not to say that Araujo was trash. It's just that Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez were such at a exceptional level. Who other center back could you name to me that could just come to Barcelona and just replace Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez at that time? They were the best. And, I think that he was maybe exhausted mentally from that long-term injury. And he's like, dude, I just want to play. Like, I am just so tired of being out of the game. And, maybe he was also unhappy with the initial renewal offer, and Araujo did not want to renew. So there were many different reasons on why Araujo was really delaying the renewal with FC Barcelona back in January. And I think that, going 4 to 5 months later, up until today, with how Barcelona moved and how many trophies we have won, and knowing that Bayern Munich have reinforced their defensive line with Jonathan Tah, taking away our option to reinforce our defensive line, it ultimately led towards Araujo just staying, because that was going to be the idea. That was going to be Hansi Flick's plan, was to let go of Ronald Araujo and bring in Jonathan Tah, a center back that Hansi Flick has coached before. But Bayern Munich have brought in Jonathan Tah. We lost the competition, and that is it, nothing more. We have to go with whatever we got today because there's not really other center backs out there that are available and that are good, most importantly. And now Araujo has renewed with Barcelona until 2031, and Hansi Flick has trusted him. He has communicated that to him over the past few weeks, and he does intend to use Araujo in the long-term plans. If Flick uses a high line, and he does value Araujo's speed, but one of the things that he has to for sure improve on is his on-the-ball skills. I believe that Araujo can become a monster if he can get better in terms of like taking on the pressure, making the correct decisions, always having players available to him, and finding those passing lanes. Jonathan Tah could have been the answer for us in the backline to sit next to Cubarsí and Inigo Martinez, but nothing more, right? Araujo renewed for a reason. He's very much committed. We'll see how he does respond to the competition of Inigo Martinez and Cubarsí, and hopefully he gets better on the 1v1 defending, right? Like what we saw Araujo perform in the Champions League semifinal. I just don't think that it was good enough. He needs to be much better. He needs to be able to handle those one-on-one defensive issues. He struggles in build-up. He does errors in big matches. Araujo, there's a lot that you have to discover within yourself. I think that you do have that in you. It's just that for some reason, something tells me, just based off how I see it from the TV, okay, from my end, and how I see Araujo and his body language, I feel like mentally he's not there. I think that he needs to gain much more confidence so we can see the best level of him. And hopefully through this preseason and through this summer, Araujo can have a lot of training sessions under Hansi, really plan out what is going to be his clear role, and ultimately lead towards Araujo becoming one of the best center backs in the world again. So that is it. That is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.